Alright, so here we are getting ready to go out and actually tap some trees. Here in my garage I've got a metal roof on and I can hear that it is starting to rain. So we might not get to that today, but we are going to get everything ready to go that we need for that purpose. So as you know, we already got our lines cleaned and sanitized. Our spiles, our collection containers are still sitting down outside of the basement ready to go. But at this time, I like to gather up everything I'm going to need to go and actually tap trees. So years ago, I got this bag from a job I used to do. I used to work in juvenile justice, and we used to use these bags for carrying court documents when we would go talk to judges, probation officers, and parents and things like that. And what I found over the years is that it is incredibly handy. Just put everything in and take it right out into the woods with you, so that you have all the tools that you could possibly need to go ahead and tap your trees with. So, you know, first thing I start off with is a handful of spiles. I think I got maybe 7 there. I throw them right here in the front in a zipper pouch, okay? That way they're separated. I don't have to dig for them. Next thing I'm going to put in here is obviously my lines. So I went through and I picked out a couple of lines of various lengths, because you never really know how you're going to position onto the tree and what kind of length you're going to need. So, you know, to give you a little bit of context for that, here's arguably my shortest piece right now. If I tap a tree that high and I need to get it into my container, that's all I've got to play with. But if I can't access the tree at that height, I can now tap much higher. Another thing that these can come in handy for is I can have one tap low down here into the container, straight up from a root flare, and then I can wrap this one around the other side of the tree, so I can do two taps into the same vessel. So I like to take a variety with me, so I've got a couple of small to medium sized tubes here. We're going to go ahead and stuff into our bag. Get those in there. And then I like to take my bigger ones, and got some smaller, some bigger ones. You can see some various lengths in here. If I even up the ends, you can see it even better. But, you know, it gives me options. Once I get out there, I don't know exactly what I'm going to be dealing with, so now I have some options on how I can deal with it. Next thing is I'm going to want a drill. Nice cordless drill. You can use a hand brace, but when you got these, why bother? Now, what you'll see here is I got this drill bit. I bought it specifically for doing maple syrup. It's a 5/16 bit, which matches the width of the spile, and and matches the interior diameter of the tubing. So all of this is meant to match up. One will attach to the other, then the hole will be the same size, so on and so forth. You'll see that I have a piece of black tape on there. It's getting a little bit chewed up, but it'll still work. That is positioned 1.5 inches back from the tip. The reason you do that is to ensure that your spile fully sits back into the tree, so that if you notice, there's a taper to these. And once it reaches this point right about here, that'll give you a little bit of a pocket behind it, maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch, for that sap to build up and then run through your spile, down your tube, into your collection. So, not super critical, but it's a good guideline on what you need. I've had that on there for years, and so as I tap the tree, which we'll see once we get out there, as soon as I get to that, to that piece of black tape, then I'll back it out and clean the hole and go from there. So, very important tool. We're going to need that. Next thing we're going to need is a mallet. So I like to use a mallet as opposed to a hammer, because of being rubber, it's more gentle on the plastic spiles. If I had metal spiles, it'd be a different story. Metal wouldn't much matter, but I think the metal would be a little bit too aggressive, and I would chance busting up my spiles, which we definitely don't want to do. So mallet in the back. Next thing I go for, this is going to look absolutely ridiculous, but I will show you once we get out there how useful this can be. So these are some old socks that I discarded because the elastic was getting worn out in them. They kept falling down, getting annoying. So I washed them, dried them, cleaned them up, threw them off to the side for this purpose. What I tend to do with them is after I tap my line, get it into my capture container, I'll tie this around the line to keep it in place. And it'll also act as a buffer to keep insects and debris from falling down into your capture container. So I take a handful of old socks and I stuff them down in there as well. So next tool I take, so I always take a pair of hand pruners with me. I pop those right onto my hip so that I have them handy. And what I do with those is when I'm walking into my trees, I will cut a path so that I can easily access my containers in and out. I'll also use to clear away branches, brush, anything around the tree that's going to obstruct getting in and out of the woods or hamper the placement of my collection vessels. Next thing I take is a nice turbo saw, a nice landscape saw. These things work wonderfully on bigger brush that the hand pruners can't get through. One last thing I haven't quite found here yet, or haven't quite jiggered out, and we will do that right now, is a tool for cleaning the tap line. So here I have just a piece of aluminum wire. Let me grab some tools here. I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. I used to use a tool that you would use to pop open a paint can, but I have no idea what happened to that over the years. We couldn't find it when we were painting this past summer. I'm going to put a nice even cut on the end there, and then I'm just going to bend this over ever so slightly. As you can see, it's not quite as big as the spile is in width, and what I'll use this for is digging sawdust. After I drill the holes out, I will use that to pull out any debris that's left behind in there. It's a step that, I've never really heard a lot of other people talk about, but if I'm leaving that behind and the fluid from the tree pushes up against the back of that spile, you see that it's not a very big hole, and it could plug it up and you could lose flow, and it could get in there inside the spile and block it up. So any debris that I can get out of there, I'm going to get out of there using my little tool here. And for the most part, that's everything we need to go tap some trees. If I think of anything else, I'll mention it once we get out to the trees themselves, but yeah, the rain slowed down a little bit, so maybe we'll tap a couple of trees here yet this afternoon, and I'll see you out in the woods.